If it overlaps the part that is bullish or bearish, like if it is bullish or bearish, if it pulls back, maybe that part will be more than our investment. If we can work multi-time, our entering point would have the least amount of stop loss. Sure, can you start? Let me go forward a little. I will tell you the tips about it. Because if you analyze in 4 hours and trade in the 1 hour time frame, you would destroy your trade. The strategies need to be tested in one time frame. You can test it once and see what happens. Yeah, the first session you said these. If you agree, we can jump onto today's topics. Anyone have any questions? No. We go into Fibonacci topic. In about the Fibonacci, we have 2 kinds of Fibonacci and 3 types of Fibonacci. Look, we have minor Fibonacci, medium-term Fibonacci, and the major Fibonacci. What's the meaning of minor Fibonacci? We consider the last 2 peaks. It's one here and one here. I don't consider this high because it's in the wave. So I will zoom a little bit. It would be here and here. So the last 2 highs in any time frame would be your minor Fibonacci, the minor of that time frame. Like I drew my minor Fibonacci in 4 hour time frame. I didn't see this. I tell you why did I draw it here. So in the last 2 peaks is the minor Fibonacci. You have any questions here? Okay. Excuse me, Mr. Abdullahi. You consider the starting point from where? The bottom or the top? It would be this, right? It's at the bottom. When it's in the bottom, I do the Fibo from top to bottom. If it was an uptrend, it would be at the bottom. Yes, it would be from bottom to top. Teacher, the bottom high has been fixed or not? Yes, it is fixed. I will tell you the reason. Let me teach you the Fibonacci first. I'm telling this sooner. Yes, by default that you know, this is a high. But I know this is a high sooner than it gets formed. So definitely put your fractals. So in the last high, it would be for your help. You can find out that this is a high by fractals. So when your trend is downtrend, meaning the last high that I had is downwards, you should draw your Fibonacci from top to bottom. But imagine I don't have this here. Here. From this and on, I don't have it. My Fibonacci would be from the floor to the cap, because my last high is on the top. Imagine I don't have this here. If it has been fixed or not. teacher. No, it has to be fixed. I'll tell you about the fixation. For now, you use fractals as an auxiliary. Put the fractals, and as an auxiliary, it would tell you how it goes. At the end, I will tell you how to do that. So this is your minor Fibonacci. When my trend is downtrend, Fibonacci from the top, we draw it from the top to the bottom. When my trend is downtrend, and the last high would be here, at the top to bottom, and it would be for the downtrend. But if it is an uptrend, and my last high would be here, it would be from the bottom to the top. Always know that Fibonacci is always from the past to the future, not in reverse. The next one is the middle Fibonacci. In the middle Fibonacci, I pull up another chart. Okay. In the middle Fibonacci, in the middle of the wave, you have a large high, usually. In the middle of the wave that has been created, you have a central high here. It would be like this. This is your middle Fibonacci. This is your middle Fibonacci, right? That we consider the middle of the wave. The major Fibonacci, the lowest high that you have on the screen to the highest high that has been created, you draw it from the bottom to top. Like the lowest high to the highest high. So it doesn't have anything to do with the beginning of the wave. What's the trend right now? It's an uptrend. I said, imagine we don't have it here. No, the left side. Yes. The beginning of the wave is here. Is it lower than this or higher than this? This is my question. No. You should see where's your lowest high. We have 4 or 5 highs on the side of each other. If it was on the same angle with this one, and it would have ended here, it wouldn't have any difference. But now, the lowest one is this. You have to find the lowest high possible. So it would be this. As usual, we consider it as shadow, not the body. If you consider it from the body, it would be wrong. Sometimes people would consider it from the bottom. It's wrong. So, did you understand this? Yes. Okay. Is it in the same direction with the trend, or it's the opposite? You are? I'm Zahrai. You have watched the clips, right? Yes. If you have watched it, don't say it in the class. I will tell you later. Okay, see. So, learn the Fibonacci. You have a minor, the middle, and the major one. So, when your minor Fibonacci breaks, and it always breaks, and on the same note, it will break the middle Fibonacci. And the middle one breaks the major Fibonacci. Let me pull up a chart like this. draw it like this. When it breaks to 61 and passes it, you have to keep in mind that it wants to touch the major ones. So be aware. So when the minor trends or minor Fibonacci's that get combined, it would be your major Fibonacci or major trend. The trend as it moves tries to touch the major Fibonacci's, major pivots and major trend lines. So be aware how you're trading. So if you have a downtrend, be aware of your trades. So what your powerful moves would be, exits wouldn't be. Excuse me, can you draw a minor here? The most minor would be this. Here. This to this. The last two peaks. The high 1 and high 2. But it doesn't show the fractals. I will tell you right now. Look, you whenever see a candle with a long shadow, it's a high. Whenever you see a candle with a long shadow, know that it's want to perform the Fibonacci. The shadow should be longer than the body. This is a high, this is a high, and this is a high. But this isn't a high. Why? Because the shadow is shorter than the body. We don't have anything to do with the fractals. But we can know it sooner with the fractals. The formula is easily this. Whenever you want to know that your trend has a Fibonacci or wants to perform a Fibonacci, or it would become high or not, whenever you see a candle with a long shadow that is longer than the body, it's a high. And the direction of the shadow isn't important, right? No, it is. If it is on the top, the high is on the top. If it is a bottom, the high is on the bottom. This last candle, if its shadow was on the bottom, it wouldn't even be a high. If it was on the bottom, it would be inside this candle. So it should be out. If the candle creates a shadow, the size of it would be empty. It's a formula. It's a rule that on the sides it would be empty. You should memorize it like this. Each candle with a long shadow, it's a high. And it wants to perform the Fibonacci process. Okay, you understood? If the shadow and the body was on the same note, it would count. So that would be about the candlestick topic. Don't get further. How do I know that this candle is a high? I have some candles like this. Or this. Like this. I don't count this as a high. It's about the candlestick, and we don't care about it now. So whenever you see a long shadow, a good long shadow, don't find like a really small shadow. Teacher, this one that you said it doesn't count, the size of it is empty on the left side. Yes, this one. They have formed, so we are saying it before it gets formed. You use it to know before the high gets formed. So The trend goes down from here, and tomorrow your pound's price would be here. It would be here. So, it's about the candlestick. For now, if you see a candle with a long shadow, and the shadow is longer than the body, you know that it's a high. When the candle hasn't finished yet, you don't even have the right to decide about the candle at all, because it will fool you for so many times. So I say it again, your candle should be finished like this. The next candle that started forming, you can decide about it. We have highs that has been failed, and it has reasons that we would tell you later. Whenever I see a high or a candle with a long shadow, I know that I have a Fibonacci in the 1 hour time frame. So you've got this, right? Whenever a candle with a long shadow, I know that I have a Fibonacci sooner, because it would be high. Okay. So you've got how I drew the minor Fibonacci? Yes, yes. So anyone have any problems with the minor Fibonacci? Look, Fibonacci, the drawing is really easy, but there are some tricks in it. Like every candle with a long shadow have a Fibonacci. How do I know that right now? Now, how do I know that when I open a buying order, what Fibonacci number would it break? Okay, I will ask you a question. The ones who have watched my videos don't say anything. The ones who are working on the Fibonacci, about the Fibonacci, give me like an explanation. What do you mean? What should we explain? Fibonacci. I have drawn a Fibonacci and my 23 Fibonacci breaks, meaning the 50% and the 61% is on the top. The price is moving from the bottom to the top, and my price is above the 23. If the candle that is finishes above the 23, means the ascension is going to continue until where? Until the next line. It wants to reach 38, and if it broke, it will reach to 50. So they say the 61 and the 78 is the most powerful resistance. Exactly. So how do we know if the 61 is going to break or not, or if it's going to pull back? You have to see the shape of the candle, if it creates a shadow or not. If it finishes under the trend line or above the trend line. No. I want to see, how do I know that my shadow would be created in the future or not? It's about the candlestick. It's one formula. And then pivots may help. Your Fibonacci numbers show your pivots. Because if your Fibonacci numbers don't be on your pivots, means you have drawn it wrong. I just knew it for this amount. So see Fibonacci. One of the guys has seen my videos. How do I know that my 50 Fibonacci would be breaking for my 61 and my price is above the 23? What formula I get from the 23? One of you guys said that he has seen the videos. Wanted to speak, I said no. Sure, I think it should be the middle Fibonacci. Teacher, excuse me. If it couldn't break the 23, it would reach 61. If it didn't break 23, you say if it gets reversed. No. I'm not talking about reversion. If it breaks the 23, how do I know the next will be my 50 or 61? I think that guy is in here. Okay, I'll tell you now. We have two kinds of Fibonacci. Can you explain a little about Fibonacci before everything else? I thought you knew these. Can you do a summary of it? Okay. The Fibonacci numbers, their exact use is exactly when there's a pivot, the lines get on the pivots and say that there's a resistance. So if I connect the top high to the bottom high, I should trade above the 23. Like I should decide about the Fibonacci above the 23. And this is for Fibonacci. For this, candle should definitely have been formed, and the second candle, so no, I mean two candles should be formed and should trade with the third one. The third one usually get to the 23. So we shouldn't do trades under 23 at all. You don't have the right to trade under 23. It's about your candlestick. Like today, I want to just talk about your entry points. We don't care about anything else right now. If I want to talk about candlestick, you will confuse everything. So, when my 23 Fibonacci breaks, I don't care about the past here. No. When the Fibonacci is from the past to future, I should see from this and on. These are not important. Excuse me. This Fibonacci is neither a minor or a middle. I'm just explaining about the Fibonacci process. Some of you may have some problems. The rule of Fibonacci is this. My second candle finishes above the 23 and it hasn't broken the 38. I always have a break in my second candle when it's above the 23. The price goes up and breaks the 38. You have a pullback until 23. And it is happening right now. It's normal. Excuse me, teacher, is it important that how many candles it takes to break the 23? Yeah, it's normal. I will explain later. Sometimes it happens with 5 candles. The important thing is the numbers, is the lines. So, like, I don't have it that my first candle would break the 23. So you consider this and on. Because I don't care about the past right now. I've passed it. I don't consider this. I just look at these. And just look at the last 2 candles. I'll zoom it so you will see better. Yeah, I'm considering these. Before it, I don't consider it at all. Like this would break the 38. Clear it from your mind. excuse me, if it had broken it, you should overlook it. Yeah, in that case, your second candle has formed above your 23 or above your 38. Except for this, there's nothing. You have considered this candle. This is a candle that has been formed. I mean this right now. What should I do now? I look at it and I see that my price has broken 38. So I have a pullback to 23. It moves again with more power and breaks my 38. And then breaks to 50. We call it that our price is between the pivots. We don't care about the body or the shadow of the candle. We just see that if it breaks it or not. It breaks to 38 or not. It makes no difference, no. Shadow or body of the candle. The important thing is that it touches it. Teacher, your voice is a little weak. Right now it's good? It's good. Okay. So you see, when my 23 Fibonacci breaks, go and breaks to 38. If it doesn't have the power to break it, it pulls back to 23. And from the 23, it gets more power. And it breaks to 38. If it breaks it, it goes to the 50. If it doesn't, it goes up and down until it breaks to 38. So when it breaks to 38, we can open buying orders until 50. How much pips should it break the 38? Usually, I'm asking the same question. That's what your friend is asking. The break is when it passes 50%. You mean it'll break the 50% and passes it and get fixed or not? Oh, we have two things. One is the second candle finishes above the 38. No, starts from it. The second candle starts above the 38. Or it passes the 50% between these two. It would be here, right? It's about here. That we have a pivot here. But my question is, if it passes the 50%, maybe it's a shadow and pulls back. Or maybe it fixes there. That's the pivot topic. So when you see that it goes up, it forms a shadow and pulls back, it's because between the Fibonacci numbers you have pivots. That's why it would form a shadow. And it has its own formulas. When you learn how the Fibonacci lines are, you will find out later. I'll talk about it one by one. See, 38. I talk about the normal state. When the second candle above the 38 starts working, we can say that it has broken it and goes to 50%. It's a normal thing. How do I know that it has broken it? This candle has like 50% has passed the 23, and the second candle has started working here. It's obvious. The second candle is above the 23, so it means that it has broken it. Sometimes the candle forms a shadow and then pulls back. Like here, it would go up and up, touch here, and pulls back. This pullback, you should see before it. You should see before that if you have pivots in this way or not. See, there is a resistance here. So how is this resistance whenever our trend is uptrend? We have a downwards fractals, and it seemed like a high. Isn't it a high here? This is a high, but it's downwards. So if my price is moving from the bottom to the top, it's a pivot. That's why a candle would go up and form a shadow and pulls back and go under 38. Or here, it goes up, the price, it'll go up, it comes here. I have a pivot here, right? Yes. These are my pivots. Wait for a minute. Some of you don't even know these. Let me tell you what pivot is. All the highs, we can count them as pivots. What does that mean? I don't talk about support and resistance. This is a pivot. This is a pivot. This is a pivot. And this is a pivot. But I don't count this as a pivot. Why? Because it's in the wave. It's in the wave. This is a pivot. From the bottom, the second one, is it in the pivot? No, the lower one. This is like the one above. No, it's different. You should see the size of this and see how much it's different. These are really in details. You have to pay so much attention. You shouldn't consider it like the fractals is here and it's like it's similar to these. These similarities may trouble you. So this one doesn't count as a pivot, the left side. A little lower? Yes. No. The upper. Yeah. No. I'm talking about this. My price is moving from bottom to top. So you should do the opposite. You should consider the opposite. When my price goes up, go back to the past and consider the highs that are downwards. Okay, this is a pivot. These two. And this is a pivot as well. And this is a pivot. So, my price is going up from here. Where did it pull back? What was here? A pivot. We had a pullback here before, right? But teacher, here there was a pivot here, but it has touched the fractals, not the shadow. I just want to say this right now. Is in the price balance with this right now. Because you don't see it in the chart. I'll go back to the past and you'll see. You see? Sure. The lines are too much. Can you yourself mark the pivot? Yeah, I'm doing that. Please remove the indicator. It's too much. My price has pulled back. Where did it pull back? Here. Right. And in the past, it had pulled back before. The power of this pivot was really high. And it has given it a shock. It didn't even let it touch it. When the pivot is powerful, it pulls back without a touch. You see that this one was the pivot. No, it wasn't. It's because it's the same direction. No, it had a past and made it pull back. That's why. So all in all, the time that you have a pivot is that your price, let me mark the pivots again. Teacher, it's confusing a little. When it's moving up, how do I know that a pivot is powerful and its shock is a lot or else? Learn the topic of pivots first and then I will teach you later. We have 4 types of pivots. This is a normal type of pivot. So, when my trend is starting from the bottom and moving up, the downward highs are the pivots. So when I do a buying order here, where's my exit? I should go to the past and find my pivots in the market. One was here and one has opened here. So when the price has pulled back, so the past had a pivot that made it not pass it. And the prices right now is going up. My trend is starting from here, moving up, and touches here. That's where I have a pivot. From here, if it can't break the pivot, it pulls back and touches where? Touches this, the last pivot. Again, from here it moves up until the next pivot. So it would like play between the pivots. And again, it would come back down to this pivot. So it's copying the past, right, teacher? Yes. From here, if it can't break this one, it moves up, breaks the last pivot, and touches here. This is a pivot. Here, it starts to fall rapidly downwards. Which pivot? This pivot. Why did it fall down all of a sudden? What? This is that Fibonacci. We don't care about the falling down right now. We will learn it in the Fibonacci. So, pivot is this. So when my price is starting to move from the bottom to the top, fractals or the highs that are downwards, or the fractals that are downwards and are high are the pivots. So when my price touches them, it comes back down. That's a pivot. I want to teach you something now. I draw the Fibonacci. The gaps high and the floor high. The Fibonacci numbers of mine should be on the pivots. If my Fibonacci line is correct. Where is my 38? Here. That doesn't count as a high, but because it has pulled back, means there was a high before it. Here? Yes. I'm marking the pivots. I'm just saying what the Fibonacci is. You see your Fibonacci? I want to say exactly what Fibonacci is. When I'm drawing my Fibonacci from top to bottom, In each and every one of my resistance, there's a red line. Teacher, is it possible that the Fibonacci doesn't go up and it just comes back down? According to the pattern, it may not go up. You can have that in the candlestick, if it goes up or not. With the signal of the candlestick, you can have that. This is 23, 38, 50, and 61. What is the 61? What's the pivot? It's this one. Oh, the pivot is in the low. It has a low, so let me do something. Let me pull up a chart that has it. Wait. My question is, pivot is exact line or is a zone? Maybe some pips would be up or down. It has some errors, but like Fibonacci has some errors, but not the pivots. This is a Fibonacci. This is a major one. I have to work in details because I want to see my pivots. Okay. So what's my trend now? It's downtrend. Here, 38, 50, 61. I go into 4 hours period. So it's a zone, it hasn't touched it. Exactly. Yeah. The Fibonacci has some errors. Yeah, Fibonacci has some faults. But you can't say that it hasn't broken the 50. You can't say that. Even if it has gotten close to it, you can say that it has touched it. Your Fibonacci numbers are exactly the pivots. 61 is a pivot. 50, oh, it's in a low again. Let me... Look, it's 23. It's a pivot. Yes, it's on a pivot. If the Fibonacci numbers are in exactly on the pivots, means there's a fault somewhere. I'm testing here. Okay. Look. My 11 is a pivot. This little difference isn't important. If you say the 11 is here and the pivot is here, it's not important. The Fibonacci has some faults here and there. 23, pivot, 38, pivot, 50, pivot, 61, pivot. So, right now, the Fibonacci's uses by the lines, it says that there's a pivot here. So, when my 23 breaks and the price passes it, our pivot has broken as well. When it passes the 23 means my pivot has been broken. I can do a buying order until 38. And it will pull back when it gets to the 38. I'll draw you the shape. From here, the price moves up and touches this. And again, it will fall down a little. And again, from here, it moves up. Before it reaches 38, that the pivot is here. Here. This zone. It may again fall down until 23. When it fell down, we reverse it. Now the fractals that are upwards, when the price moves from bottom to top, we consider the downward fractals. When it's coming from top to bottom, we do the upwards fractals. We should consider the opposite highs. And it goes back up again and reaches 50. You may not break the 50 and again goes up to 61. So when can I buy here is when my pivots are all broken. Okay. See here, we didn't have a pivot here, right? This is a pivot zone, right? Isn't it a pivot base? Yes. There's a pivot base here. By base, you mean the set, right? Yes, base. When there are some candles on the side of each other, and they like create a sideways thing, we call it the pivot base. I have opened a buy under 23. Why did I do that? Didn't I say to buy above the 23? Default it says when it gets to above 23 we can buy. But we don't want to work by default. Why did I do it sooner? Because it has broken my pivot here. Why? Because my candle, the price has passed these. If you look at the candles past, you see that it has passed it. What does it mean? Meaning the price has opened. I do a buy and I put my TP a little higher. It would be here. Where did I put it? In the place of my pivot. Like my buying point, I've learned, is according to the pivot. When my pivot breaks, buy or sell, and when it wants to go to the next pivot, you have to quickly find it. I have a buy from here to here, and then I sell here, and I exit here. And when it breaks again, I do buy again. What do you mean by break? Like the candle finishes there? No. The shadow for a few millimeters passes this, like the price here. Passes this shadow a little, it would be a break. If it passes and then comes back, what about it? It would be an open and close candle pivot. We have 4 types of pivot. So if it finishes a few pips higher, you can buy. Yes, by the default form of pivot, you can buy. And then when it got to the next pivot, you should exit. Teacher, you mean it passes 50% from the pivot line? No, if it passes 50%, you have lost your trend. The default form of Fibonacci is this. The default is this, is that when the candle passes 23 and the second candle formed above the 23, it has broken it. So the Fibonacci of 23 has broken, not the pivot. But I say that these 23, 38, 50, and 61 are the pivots. So if it has passed it, it has broken the pivot. If the pivot was between the 23 and 38, you would be right. If it didn't break, what happens? The pivot is between them. But I'm telling you, when you're drawing the Fibonacci, yes, it's true. That's the time that the price has passed 23, you can buy. But according to factors, that this pivot is exactly on this 23 or not, or is it between the 23 and 38? Do you understand this? If it is between the 23 and 38, meaning you have drawn it wrong. If one number in Fibonacci get messed up a bit, it's no big deal. But if all of them are in the opposite of each other, there's something wrong with the Fibonacci line. But teacher, as you're saying, if we can identify the pivots good and the pivots are good, we don't even need the Fibonacci. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just doing candlestick and pivot. But you need to learn this concept first. Like they have questioned that if the 50% of the candle has passed, it's a break. You should know everything sooner than the market. You should know what's going to happen. So I say, whenever the price has passed your pivot, you can buy. Whenever it has passed it, you can buy. Is this the answer to the question that how to know if it passes the 50 and 61 or not? No. It doesn't have anything to do with that. Yes, I wanted to teach you the Fibonacci, but I said let's teach the pivot first. This last wave that is bearish, it hasn't obeyed this rule. It's always downwards. It didn't play between the pivots. It has broken the pivots. Wasn't the pivots supposed to not break, though? Or was it all supposed to be pullbacks? Look, here. We say market repeat itself. Hadn't it gone up? When it goes straight upwards, it goes straight downwards. Hadn't this candle gone up? How much is it possible that it repeats again? Exactly. Shapes repeat itself. Yes. The repeats are always there. No. In the last way, it has gone up straightly. How much is it possible that in the next way it would go down? Is 100%? Yes. Why? Because there was no pivots there that it has gone up. That news makes a pivot break. That's different. But teacher, we had pivots. I've asked this question before. How much should we go back and look for pivots? If you look at the past of this, like a month ago or a year ago, there was a pivot. Can you repeat again? You said there was no pivot that has gone up. I say when we look at the past, like 1 week. No, it's different. How much should we go back and look for pivots? In its own time frame, like 1 hour or 4 hours. The rule of pivot is this. I will teach you now. Pivot should be analyzed from monthly time frame to 4 hours. So, from top to bottom. I will give you the magic tools so you won't go back and look for the pivots in the past. I didn't give you sooner to learn the pivot completely and then tell you what's gonna happen. If I go back and look at the past, in the top 4 hours time frame, you will see a pivot in your chart, unless it's a chart like Dow Jones that doesn't even have a past to look at. That's exactly what I was gonna say. If there was no pivots in the past, what should we do? That's the Fibonacci technique. Excuse me, you said that when the candle broke the pivot, you open the position. And until it goes to the next pivot, you can leave it open. So if all our attention is on the pivot line, what's the reason for drawing the Fibonacci? Fibonacci is a tool that makes you see it by eyes. But it does another thing as well. It shows that your trend is bullish or bearish. That 50% and 61% that I told you, at the end of this topic, I will explain it. Remind me to explain it in its own region. Say what use it has. Yeah, I will clear it now. I cleared this Fibonacci. Isn't my price above my pivot? I buy until here. I put a buy stop here. When my price is above the pivot, it means the pivot is broken, and I put my take profit here. But if my pivot doesn't break, I could put a sell until the bottom wall. Did you understand this? The use of Fibonacci is only that in these zones we have pivots. And in the future, your price is going to go in that direction, like upwards or downwards. And there's another formula that tells you the market elasticity of in the future. Like my trend is bullish or bearish. Let me show you the past of it. You'll see. This is my past. Okay. Teacher, how do these waves makes us know the market elasticity? When it breaks your Fibonacci of 50 and your 61. Don't ask us this right now. It will be a little out of the concept. But remember to ask later. What should we ask now? Like about the pivot? We said that our market elasticity is in what direction? Upwards or downwards? Like here. I pull up more of the past and analyze it till the end. I will pull that up again. I want to start from here. What was this? It was sideways. It was a pivot. I've connected this to the here. And this is my ending high. Okay. I will teach you two candles right now. Each candle that has a long shadow from one side is a high, a shadow longer than the body. If it's downwards, the bottom shadow would be longer than the upper one. the bottom shadow is longer than the body. That's a high. The candles that have two long shadows from both sides, it means trend change, like this. This is a high. A candle that has a longer shadow than its body. And if the shadow is on the top, it's a high. And it means a price drop, like this one. Okay. If it is on the bottom, it is a high at the bottom, and your trend is uptrend. A shadow longer than the body and longer than the other side. You have another candle as well. These are your king candles. In one day, you have two candles, king of these kind. But you have a candle that both sides have a shadow that is longer than the body. And the bottom one is a little longer than the upper one. Both shadows are longer than the body. And the bottom shadow is a little longer than the upper one. What do we name it? It's a trend change. If it's a downtrend, it becomes an uptrend. And if it forms on the top, it would be like, we have it here. It has formed the bottom and makes the trend go up. Is it valid or not? If you want a valid one. Sure, I ask my question again. How much validity does this candle have? A lot. A lot, like how much? What? Is it that much that we buy or sell? Yes. So is there any tools that we want to? Yes, you need to have pivots. But right now, memorize these two candles. When you have seen these two candles, it's their use that I've told you. I will teach you these two here so you can draw your Fibonacci's correctly. So how do I know that it's valid or not? Let me teach you in the candlestick topic. Just memorize it. I will send you a video and watch it and you will understand. So if this candle on the top, the both shadows are longer than the body and it forms on the top of the market, your trend is bearish. If it forms at the bottom, your trend is bullish. And if the longer shadow of the candle is at the bottom, you would make your trend go up. Here, the longer shadow is on the top. So the price goes down. Is it not important that the body would be filled or not? Yes, that will make it have more validity. I will send you the videos from the private students so you will know for the next session. This candle, the shadow is longer than the body and it's on the bottom. The bottom shadow is a few millimeters longer. It will give it validity. When their two shadows are the same size, they're in the bottom and it has upright, and they have failed as well. Let me teach you these at the candlestick topic. Don't go further. So this is your trend change. Where is this? This is the high. This is the high. A high. High is the same as trend change, right? No. High with the trend change has some connections in the future, but their waves are different. but they do the same thing, kind of. That one send out more waves, but that one is sections by section. These are all about candlestick that I will tell you later. They do the same thing, but the power is different. So now here, I did it top from to the bottom, and there's a trend change. My price is above the 23. I can buy. Don't have any pivots here. I can buy it, and I would exit here. That this candle would finish. And the next candle has been formed above the 11, and I exit here. I wait. You should wait to see if it breaks it or not. It has breaks it. The candle passed the pivot. I enter the buying process and I exit here. We wait if it breaks it or not. If it breaks it again, we will enter the buying process again. I don't want to go back to the past. If it can't go up, there's a pivot. I exit here. I wait if it breaks here or not. Oh, the next candle has been past it, and I go up to the next pivot. We didn't understand this breakout. Do you explain later? When you say we want to wait if it breaks or not, what's the meaning of the waiting? It means passing the pivot. You mean it goes up and get fixed, or just passes it? I mean, it just passes it. No, look here. Your pivot is 23. And here, and the end of my candle is also 23. So my candle has finished exactly on the pivot. So I should wait to see if it passes it and breaks it or not. My candle is exactly on my pivot, and it's 23, so I should wait to see if it breaks it and passes it or not. The next candle gets formed and then passes it, like this much. Like here, let me tell you the pips. Do you see this mouse? Do you see the tip of my mouse? When I put it here, when it passes this much, you can say that it has broken. If you want to, by experience, it's like this. It will be in your hands while you work with it. We say this was a pivot. If my price passes it, like 5 or 6 millimeters, if it passes, it's a break. It would be like 5 or 6 pips. If I consider this to this here, it would be like 5 or 6 pips. If 5 or 6 pips passes my pivot, it's a breakout. Okay? Look, about the pivots, we have 4 types of pivots. Let me tell you the default form. When I teach you the 4 types, you will completely understand that how much it should pass that it can be considered as a break or not. It's a little hard for you right now. Everybody gets stuck in here. So, in general, I want to tell you the Fibonacci technique. It shows you the pivots on the way. So where do I do the buying and where do I exit according to Fibonacci? Fibonacci is what? It's pivot. So when it passes here, I buy. So above my pivot, when it has completely broken, I buy until the next pivot. I have a pivot between these, so I need to exit in between these. My price has started from this here. I put my buy here on the red line. It's my buy. I leave it open, and here I exit. It's my pivot. I close it here. If you do the buying and then pulled back, should we leave it open or should we close it? No, 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 no. We should leave it open and wait for the breakage of the last pivot. The pivot before, you mean the lower one, right? I didn't do buy here. Where did I put my stop loss? On the lower pivot. If it opens, it's finished. Our drop will be until here. But your central and main pivot is this. Maybe it comes to this. But don't be scared. Until it hasn't opened, it is still valid. But something happens and it opens. And price drops down rapidly. So these are all your pivots. This is your pivot. You should see where I'm buying. I haven't opened an order yet. I should see if it is worth it or not. It has broken this pivot. So where's my next pivot? Here. From here to here is how much pips? 20 pips. I know it's worth it, so I get it. But if you close it here, and there's a pivot, and it passes a little bit, don't buy. Because you still have a pivot there. You see? This thing that you see that is straight going up is for the news. The large candles are always for news. This was news, this was news, this was news, this was news, this was news. Do we consider risk and reward here? Or is our analysis valid? Yes, I don't agree with this. Like, it's a trend now that risk and reward should be lower. I don't agree with this at all. You should trade on the basis of your analysis. If it is about 2 or 3 pips, it's not even logical to trade. But now I have put my buy here and I put my stop loss here. What's my first take profit? Here. The first take profit is here. The distance isn't shorter than this one. How much pip is this? 16. How much is this? 30. It's exactly 2 times more than this. I'm analyzing it. According to my analysis, I know it will reach here. I say that when it breaks, it will finish. I can't say the bearish trend has been ended. It always goes down. But your risk or reward being lower, I think, is just nonsense. Because you're trading on the basis of your analysis. You're not trading according to your risk. Just under the condition that in the distance between your buying and the next pivot is how much peep. Is it worth it to trade or not? Like, in the distance you have 1.5 pips. You want to do it with 1.5 pips? It's wrong. You won't ever see in my trades that I get under 20 or 30 pips. Because it doesn't give you any profit. Teacher, the news will be in the same direction with the market trend or in the opposite. Your news, when will they get announced in the pivots? They are about the news. The news has been announced. They get announced in the pivots, and it depends. The direction, it depends. That which pivot you're in. Where you are in the trend. If you're at the end of the trend, your news will start getting corrective. But if it is at the start of the uptrend, it's in the same direction. It's really interesting. They don't have anything to do with each other. Yeah, so many people make this mistake. That's why the technical analyzers are always in a fight with fundamental analyzers. They say it's 80% fundamental, and we say it's 80% technical. I will prove it to you with science. You see, the hour that we don't have a pivot, in the trend that we don't have a pivot, see if it has news or not. Just see this and it's enough. When your price doesn't have a pivot in its way, you do not have news. News are according to pivots. I have talked about this in theory, that the market has been formed according to human psychology. It's like people like me or you who are creating these waves, not like us who are trading in the simulated market. In the real market, when there's something like this happens, you should buy. When everybody's gonna buy, they're creating the wave, right? And everybody knows that when they are a buyer, they have news. They offset and exit, and they get news. These are the topics of our last sessions. You would understand what the market originally was. If the pivots confirm the news, so 100% technical works. No. That 20%, the news causes your pivot to break or not. Sometimes you analyze technically. You say, okay, this has broken its 61 and the pivot is powerful, so now it drops. And the pivot is really powerful. When the news get announced, it makes the pivots break. Like 78 and so on. But you expected it to be sideways. Pivot makes the news, but the news type will give you direction. Yes? Can you repeat again? These pivots may create the news, and inside the news, there's direction. I got disconnected. No, we don't have such a problem. Yes, it's correct. It's nearly correct. We say it like this, that these candles are the ones which create the direction, and it's the pivots that makes the corrective ones. I was talking about the news. You can say that the news are included in the corrective ones, or they're in the continuous kind of way. But what you say is nearly true. The thing that you're saying is nearly correct. Okay. So here, see, according to Fibonacci, whenever there's Fibonacci's numbers are on the pivots, and when the pivot breaks, when the 23 of Fibonacci breaks or the pivot, if your price is starting from the bottom and you have drawn your Fibonacci in a way that it is going up, and if it breaks, buy, and the next pivot, exit. You can go and come back in between these. From where you would know that this pivot would break or not, and I would do a sell, it's about the candlestick. That is too soon. You have completely understood this, right? Yes. Anyone have any questions? Teacher, I have a question that maybe the guys have asked before. The end of that second candle that has touched this 23 and pulled back. This? Yes, this one. It has hit the 23. If this shadow didn't pass the 23, we'll be like under the 23. Do we get a open and buying order or not? The shadow would be under 23. Yes. This is the second shadow that has gone up a little. This one? Yes, yes. No, I didn't do it according to this. Oh. I say it easily. I will say it simply. What's the time in the market? 9:16, right? About 1 hour later, there would be a new market. Yes, yes. What do you see in your daily time frame? Where did it end? High. Do you think it can empty itself in 1 hour? No. It's not possible, no. Unless it's news. Yes. Where did it end? In the pivot. It gives you a bullish trend. Tomorrow is all bullish. This hammer candlestick, or this trend changes, or this highs, if the bottom or the top shadow is in the pivot, in the daily or thing, it would give it a confirmation. It would give it more power, right? Yes. Here, the confirmation was so good, I did 12 lots. Tomorrow, if it tries really hard, it will break it, or else on Monday it will be good. Okay. And we put stop loss under the shadow, yes. But if the top shadow is also in the pivot, what does that mean? The top shadow was in the pivot. Should we make it daily? Right now, the top shadow is shorter than the bottom one. If that shadow is in a pivot, what does that mean? This one? Yes. We don't have anything like this. It's not important. It doesn't mean anything. Like above this price, you have pivot. When your new candle starts working and goes up, as it tries, it would be like your 23 Fibonacci, I think, on the daily time frame. Yes, it would be your Fibonacci of 23. So it validates it when it breaks, right? Yes. Always at the end of a candle, there's a pivot. When they say the candle before its body and shadow has opened, it's a confirmation. It's that pivot. This whole market is on pivot's hands. That's it. Like when they say if it passes the body or shadow, it would happen like this or that. Teacher, the price between the pivots, how much does it go up and down until it breaks? How many candles does it continue? It's not definite. It just goes until it breaks. That's where you do give and take. When we say wait and don't trade today, the market isn't good, we're looking at the pivots, the price on the pivots. Like Mrs. Sajedi, that on the pivot point we have a selling. What did the candle give us? The shadow on the top has given us a high. So my price drops until like this zone. But you should pay attention. When you look at the candlestick, you should know that which time of that candlestick you are. It's about the candlestick. Like in the daily time frame, when did it end? See how powerful the signal is. We have such an awesome signal here. I do a buy here, and I don't care if it comes down to this here, because I know that my target is there. So the target that my price want to hit, there's the pivots. I break the pivots. If I do the Fibonacci, How much? 50. So Fibonacci always identifies your pivots. It doesn't do anything special. Can you go to the chart of Euro to USD in the daily time frame? The last candle is finishing in the way that is giving us signal of buying. Can we lower the time frame to get a confirmation? In the condition that you are in the last hours of the market, the last of the hours of the candle, so you can go to that candle sooner. I said, if it is the last hours of that candle. Look, this is this. We have two kinds of Fibonacci. There is the same direction and the reverse. What's this do? In this wave, we call it sideways in the long term. Let me plop a trend line here. Look here. We imagine I don't have this and on from the market. The Fibonacci was from the top to the bottom. Okay. My trend has been created and has gone up and it has a pivot and reached to 38. What was my trend? It was downtrend. We have two kinds of Fibonacci. One is in the same direction and one is in the reverse kind of way. In the Fibonacci of the same direction, the most powerful resistance is 61, but I expect the 61 to break. I don't even care about the 50 anymore. In the Fibonacci of reversing, the most powerful resistance is 50, and my price will pull back at 50, not 61. How do I know that my trend would break the 50 or not? Or it will break 61 or not? It's about the wave. Why do I see here? What's my trend? It's downtrend. I do it from the cap to the floor. From the cap to the floor. Where is my 61? On the top. What's my trend? Downtrend. My trend was downwards and my 61 was on top. So this Fibonacci is what? It's reverse Fibonacci. My trend was downtrend. You should pay attention to your 61. I don't care about the 0 now. If you have a downtrend and you have drawn the Fibonacci from cap to floor and the 61 is on top, you have a reverse Fibonacci. Your most powerful numbers are 50 and 38. Clear 61 from your mind. Why? Because you have a reverse Fibonacci. 38 and 50. And when you have drawn this reverse Fibonacci, top to bottom, and the 61 is on top, if the price can break the 50 and touch the 61, it's giving you a warning that your major or general trend is becoming from downtrend to uptrend. Like it shouldn't go down anymore if it has broken the 50. But here, because it couldn't break this 38, I can easily understand that my market is bullish or bearish. When you have drawn this reverse Fibonacci and it couldn't break the 38, expect your price to go down and break your zero Fibonacci because your elasticity is downwards. If it could break the 50 and touch the 61, it's showing that your elasticity is changing and it's going upwards. It's giving you a warning. Passing the 50 and touch the 61, right, teacher? When you draw your Fibonacci from top to bottom and you had a downtrend, and the most powerful is 38 and 50. And if it has passed it, it's a warning. When the 50 get broken, it's a warning that your general or major trend in whatever time frame you are, in the 4 hours, for example, is still downtrend. Because it couldn't break my 38 and 50. This is not a break if it has gone up a little for a few pips. It should form a high. It should finish above the 38 and then go to the 50 to give you a warning. Sometimes I say that this time is for deciding about the trend. There are the Fibonacci that I'm checking. If I see tomorrow that it has broken the 50, I say that it's changed from downtrend to uptrend. So 50 is a warning and 61 is breaking, right? Exactly. My trend is like this. What's my trend? It's downtrend. I've drawn Fibonacci from floor to the cap. 61 is where? Is at the bottom. The Fibonacci is at the same direction. Exactly. What's my price? It has gone up to 89 and pulled back. It's about 89 to 50. It has dropped again, and then again it moves. Teacher, what's its use? I didn't understand. It's finding your market's trend. In the future, yes. If you draw a trend line here, I don't care about this one right now. From this and on. How do I know? The time that you'll understand that your trend has changed is that your trend line has broken and it has become an uptrend. But from this Fibonacci, I will find out sooner because it couldn't break the 38, so it's still downwards. Will you wait for the trend line to break, like break here or here? And it goes up? No. I'm now sure. You are stressed, you're checking and do other things. I'm not. I'm sure that my trend is still downtrend. And then I draw the same direction Fibonacci. I'm following the wave, right? It has broken my 61, but it's still downwards. What you do? Draw your trend line again and connect this to this. I say it's still downtrend. Now you have drawn your trend line, you're still stressed. And like, what if the trend line breaks and it goes up? Or the trend line is this, and other things. But according to Fibonacci, you will know that your trend is uptrend or downtrend, like this wave. What happened to it? Wasn't it a downtrend? Yes. It has broken the 50 Fibonacci, right? 50 and 61. The 61 is a confirmation. So I told you before the trend line breaks that, and it's gonna go up. But it has broken it, and it's gone up. So this is the minor, and I will know sooner than that. It will come to this. The trend is uptrend now, so you just want to go up. You don't have a downtrend. You have an uptrend now. Like it comes up to hit the high on the top. Yes, it comes up. Where's the pivot? It's here, right? I know. We can't forecast here that it'll go up and pull back. It's obviously on the top now. Look. Like it would go up until the beginning of the trend line. You mean where? Like this zone? Like the beginning of the trend line that you have drawn. The high on the top. Here. You're analyzing the longer time frame. I know, I've got it. It's about the long term thing. But teacher, I've seen so many places that it comes to 89 and did a pullback. It's the pivot in the low. That was F78. We should factor it later. So we can't say it's 100%. No, it's 100%. It's because they didn't know it, they stuck here. Look here. Where's my 89? It's in the low. The most powerful pivots are in the lows. And the 78 is here. If it passes the 89, we can decide about the trend direction. Your trend is uptrend now. Your downtrend is completely finished because it has passed the 61. So how do I know after 78 it would reach where? It's about the candlestick now. The candlestick gives us a signal or forms a high. The price will pull back to like 50. Why not 61? It's kind of a Fibonacci now. I should teach you the back and forth. It will be heavy for this session. The next session, I will teach you if it broke the 50, what would be its corrective kind of way. Because Fibonacci is like, takes so many sessions to learn. Now I have questioned that why 50 not 61? It has a formula. 78 is a constant rule. The pullback from 78 is until 50. 89 is to 61. 61 is to 38. And 50 is to 23. 38 is to 11. They skip a level altogether. Now that I've opened the reverse and the same direction Fibonacci, you're going forward in the market according to Fibonacci. If you connect this to here, and on the 38 you do a buy order and exit on the 50, I'm sorry, when you put a buy on the 50 and exit it on the 61, you should know that your trend was downtrend. So your 61, do a powerful buy until 89. So it works in situations like this. In the book it says the 61 pulls back until 23. Right? So you just learn the minor Fibonacci, so it's a little bit of it. So you've understood that what is Fibonacci, and according to Fibonacci, when to buy and when to sell, but nearly, not the exact entry point or exit point. And the next thing is, according to Fibonacci, I find out that my elasticity has become bullish or bearish. And if I should, in 50, I should buy or sell. When my 61 breaks, I should know that my price will go. Here it hit the 61, but my trend was reversed. It gave me a warning that your downtrend is going to end. But according to this Fibonacci, you will know that the trend line is going to break. You could see that your trend line is going to break. But you guys would do a sell here right away. So when you have drawn the reverse Fibonacci and your price could touch the 61, so it's giving you a warning now that your trend line is going to break. Why would you do a sell here? So you shouldn't trade by your trend line. The trend line only gives you the elasticity of the market. Excuse me, 50 was warning and 61 was confirmation, right? Yes. As soon as the 61 got touched, the trend would change. It's the answer to that question, to that Afghan friend. That 50 and 61 is what? Is for reverse and same direction Fibonacci. So when I'm working with Fibonacci, when I get to 38 or 50 zone, I should be aware that if I have drawn a reverse Fibonacci or same direction, I should pay more attention to my pip trades. Should I be more aware of my selling or buying? Which one should I be more aware of? Would most of my trends be on the selling or buying kind of way? The Fibonacci topic is really heavy. Can you do something, please, teacher? On this Euro to USD chart, can you pull it up? Okay. In the 4 hours, the 8th wave, we should do a bullish Fibonacci, right? And it has passed this 87. It hasn't. It's a shadow. It has passed the 61. Yes, it has. Where is your trend? My trend is downtrend. So elasticity is down. So it should have passed the 78. Pull back from the 78 is until where? It's 50. So on the first pivot, you exit and do buying. Look here. This is 61. And this is 50. When it's 78 to 50, can we not exit on the 61? What? When we say 78 reaches to 50, can we not exit on the 61? If it breaks to 50, not exit the 61. It means not to exit in the pivot. No. We should exit. Because it hasn't pulled back completely. Yes. Sometimes the rule of 78, the default of 78 pulls back to 50. Oh, we had that. Sometimes the 61 wouldn't let it because it's so powerful of a pivot. Exit on a pivot. Don't risk it. Sure, I didn't understand the breaking of the lines. Do you explain it the next session? Look, this candle has shadowed, and the next candle has touched it and come down a bit, a few pips. Remind me later, and it's about pivot. I wanted for you to know Fibonacci first, and then I will go in details in pivot and teach you. I will teach you all later about the pivots. Let me analyze the oil chart. Teacher, please give us hope. Your oil chart will give you a good signal. Let me do this exact Fibonacci as well. Can it go down? You have this exact trade. Like the price is on the 38 of general Fibonacci. The most powerful Fibonacci in the trades is 38 of Fibonacci in the general trends. 38 or 61. I said in the general. In the general trends, in the major Fibonacci's, how do I say it? In the long term, the most powerful is 38, and if it breaks the 38, it goes powerfully to the 50. So because I did a reverse, the 50 got pulled back. And today's signal, we don't know anything about the oil for tomorrow. Tomorrow, it's sideways. It's playing in this zone. Right now, your oil market is sideways. It'll be sideways, right? Yes, it will be sideways. It will come to this zone, but the order that we opened is long term. It's not short term. So how much is it possible to go down because my margin is low? It shouldn't break it. In this zone, how much is it possible to go down? It wouldn't come under this candle. It will be finished as a high. In this daily, it's the head and shoulders pattern. In your own techniques, these patterns like harmonic or things like that doesn't have anything. I don't agree with them. I don't. You don't care about them, right? If you speak with Mrs. Sharifi, they were like you. Even Mrs. Sadegh didn't know the techniques, the basic ones. But they will speak to you very beautifully. Later, you will laugh at these techniques and patterns. So when you got to that point, remember that the market was so easier than the things that they say. We have errors. Everyone makes mistakes. This is all our eye error. Like, I haven't even seen this kind of pivots. Oh, I didn't see this. You will encounter this kind of events. So tonight, your oil tonight, if it can, to finish the price here, I don't zoom so I can show you the candle shape better. If it can finish it in the in 962, it will be really good. It will be excellent. Pray now. In the market, if you pray to God or anything else, it wouldn't do anything for you because I had to walk these ways. Okay, let me do the euro to USD. So we found out that euro to USD is good. Let me see euro to USD. I've put a take profit here and put TP2 here. This is your TP2. Like your second buy would be here. Can you say the number? It's 61 and 50. It would be here. Yes. But I have two TPs. What's this TP? This TP is the smaller one. Put your TP1 at 1.13, 697. And you have two TPs. It would encounter the buy stop and order and closing, offsetting. Okay. Okay. Your second order and buy stop would be, the price would be 1.13783. Its TP would be 1.13 960. I'm looking at the charts again. Oh, pound is really awesome. Don't lose a pound. Should we buy the pound to dollar? For Monday, TP would be here. I don't know if you have the news. If you have news, do it tomorrow as well. It would be 30.398 for pound. Look, pound in the 4 hours have a little dissension. It's a little bit. When we're doing pound, we're not worried about it. I want to ask a question. In the 4 hours, you say we have a good signal and may have a little corrective wave. Can we go a little lower and wait for the correction to be finished? Yes, you can. If you work with candlestick, I'm in the daily time frame now. What's its match? It's 4 hours. I said that we should look at its match, but he said that we should just look at the 4 hours. But he can test it. I'm on the daily, and I'm looking at the 4 hours, its match. Yes, in the daily I have a really good signal. But in the 4 hours, I may have a little dissension of price in this zone. But I know that I should put the price here. My question is this. For example, my margin is low, and I can't do that correction. So you're doing full candle. It wouldn't happen anything like this. In the 4 hours, you look at it. You can say it like that when your candlestick is full. But when you don't know candlesticks, what should I tell you? It's really great. Mrs. Sadaqali Najat got a profit of $100. Is Dow Jones downtrend? I'm gonna go check the charts now. Pound to USD. Can you pull it up again? How did you put it? See it now. Oh, okay. Got it. We don't have the end of the trend. And when a high or a low gets formed, how do we know that it's in the trend or it's in the end of it? I didn't understand. Can you repeat it again? I'm sorry. If I want to work in the live market, because we don't have the highs, we don't know if it is a high or not. So in this way, would have been a trend change, but we didn't notice. Like 8 days ago, there was a trend change, but it didn't operate. Yeah, I got it. It happens like this, that it didn't finish in the pivot. The train change is invalid when it didn't finish in the pivot. Like here, it operated because it got finished in a pivot. But this one in its way didn't have a pivot and has finished in this, and that's why it failed. If you learn the pivot topic, you would understand it. We'll teach the pivots a little sooner. Like here, there was a train change. I do a buy, maybe it fails, right? The time that it fails, that it finishes not in the pivot. To not finish in the pivot. It's Euro to USD in the daily. 8 days ago, something like that happened. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 days ago, we didn't have anything. If you zoom in, you could see. This? No. 3 candles before it. This? Yes. It wasn't a pivot. It wasn't even valid. It's about the validity now. It's in the pivot, right? The trend change is, but it's invalid. Let me tell you the reason. Okay. Look here. The trend change validity, one is that it gets formed on the top. If it's filled, it's one validity. So the valid was low. It operated, but it has operated a little. Like the next candle has finished where? Here, right? The shadow on the bottom has hit the pivot, right? That would be Fibonacci, right? If you get the Fibonacci, the answer would be right. It would be the 23 Fibonacci. It couldn't break it, so it was a pivot. Isn't shadow part of the candle? It is. This validity of the candle, the less it is, the less it would give you distance. Teacher. So the field candles are more valid. Like if my daily, like here, if it was not filled, it would be really good. Is field good or not filled? If it's at the bottom of the market, it should go empty. But if it's at the top, it should be filled. It can be about its last candle before it. The candlestick topic is really vast. Like as we speak, we find new things here. They all have an answer. I will teach you one by one. Mr. Rose didn't understand. Yeah, it's late. Let me just give you your analysis. Teacher, I have a question. Can you analyze the franc? It wouldn't give us a high one. Tomorrow evening, it would be good. I have a buy and there's $5 profit. Should I keep it? No, close it. If it is a Fibo of 78, just close it. Dow Jones hadn't confirmed yet. I'm still awake. Let us see what will happen until 3 a.m.
داشت به همه ضرر زده.
ضرر من با آقای عبداللهی یکی نیست که.
Don't get Dow Jones with low balance. I lost 220, but it got us a lot of profit last week. Yeah, I got $20,000 profit, but it took 10,000. Okay. It makes a pullback. Now that it has made us lows, there was a pivot here. Could it do a pullback here, or could it reach the 83? This? Yes. It would be pulled back in this zone. But wait for it to be finished. It's really important tonight. Even this euro, I will warn you when it finishes. You should change your stop loss. Your stop loss would be here. It's really important how your candle would be finished. I checked the gold chart. It's not really something interesting in there. Teacher, these two pivots, which one of them are better? Two of them is, one of them is weekly and one of them is daily. The magic pivot is the weekly one. The gold market will be bullish tomorrow until 1,307. It would go up. If it gets closed tonight here, to tomorrow morning it will be bullish. We should use these daily pivots under 400, right? Yes. 400 and up would be weekly pivots. Yes. You said, where should the gold be finished tonight? What? The gold should be finished tonight. This same zone. This same price zone. If it hits there tonight, like 1,312.20, it would be better tomorrow. Quick question. In the news they say the interest rate would go up or down. What's its effect on dollar? I don't check the news. I don't do that. I don't even check the news. This is the goal. If it breaks your line, it's really important here. New Zealand. New Zealand is down signal. and it's bearish, but I don't have any suggestion on it. Let's see where in the market would end. Can you put the New Zealand on daily time frame? Yes.
الان امشب اگر این به این حالت تموم بشه
So if it finishes like this,
البته شادوش کوتاهه درسته
oh, the shadow is short. That's why I don't have any suggestion on it. Yeah, have these for your euro and gold and Dow Jones. I will announce it in the group chat to see what will happen. Thank you. Okay. Practice definitely. So you wouldn't be stuck in these points. Next session. Good night. Good night. Goodbye. Goodbye. What? When will you send these videos? It will be sent until 1 hour later. Good night.